All right, so let's go. We're gonna look at calendula, parsley, lettuce. I can show you some basil, and then I'll actually show you, I'll rip into some fruit, and you can see like a cucumber and tomato example. So come on. This plant here, amidst this chard and flat leaf basil, flat leaf parsley, is calendula. As you can see, these plants get a little sticky, but you can see all the different stages of life here. You can see the flower, you can see it beginning to get green, and beginning to set. Look at just how cool that is. And then when it's completely dry, you begin to see the seeds form in here. And calendula seeds are these, oh my gosh, how would I describe them? Little tight horseshoe looking like things. So these are all dry, so I can just go through, kind of break them apart, similar to how we did with lettuce, and you can collect your seed. So this is flat leaf Italian parsley, and you can also see the different stages of growth. It's shooting out a long spike here, and this is what carrots will do. Carrots will send out a tall spike and an umbel type flower, and so you're seeing all different stages with this parsley as well. You're seeing it sending out the flower head. All these little bits are flowers. They're these delicate miniature flowers. And then on this one, you can see it's dried out. And this is the seed has formed. And literally you can pull it right off. And there is your seed. So gosh, there's like, 20 something seed right there, just on that one flower. So like I said, again, one plant will produce hundreds and hundreds of seed. And I just wanted to give you a close-up look at this flowering structure. Look at those seeds forming, different stages. Dry on the right, green on the left. It's good to do this when it's dry, but really what you do is you just like pinch that seed bud, and I'm just breaking it apart in my hand like that. And that little kind of fluffy white dandelion like material just kind of, you can blow off, but I'm blowing super gently. I'm almost not even doing it because lettuce seeds, and similar to some parsley seeds and carrot seeds, they're so tiny and they're so delicate that if you blow too hard, then you're just gonna blow all the seeds away. It's a really cool, fun process. You can come out in the early morning or evening, just, make it a cool little meditation. But you will be surprised how one plant will set a ton of seed. And granted, I don't know if this is 100% germination rate for the next yield, but that's why there are so many. And I've been doing this for years, and it gets to a point where as a home gardener, you can really collect all your own seed. And then from here, I'll often even just go on walks in the neighborhood and collect flower seed and wild seed. So that's all the seed for that. So I usually make these little pouches. So I'm just gonna add this to my lettuce pouch that I've already started, which is mixed lettuces, and just put that right in there. And if you want to know how to make these envelopes, go back to the very first episode of the Weekly Seed, episode 1, and scroll to the end, and I show you how to make these little guys. So this is good. You can collect and put it right in your little paper pouch. All right, here's just carrots and beets that won't have any examples of seeds because they, like I said, they're gonna produce next spring. So I'll make sure I leave some of those. I have so many perennial flowers which are seeding right now. I'm just gonna show you some examples that you can begin to look out and watch for. So right here, this is Mexican top hat. It is a perennial that grows in this area here with hollyhocks and some borage and some other wildflowers. But here is the flower, and then it shoots up this type, and I don't know the name in terms of this botany structure, but actually this is where all the true flowers are being formed. These are just glorified leaves, if you will, these petals. And so here you can see, like if I just pull this off, it's almost like a maraca, and break this up because it's nice and dry. Look at all these seeds. Right? So you can begin to discover seeds everywhere. So come on over here and we'll see about this basil. Oh, here's a good example too of dill. This is dill. And dill, like parsley, like carrots, again, and onions, it has this large, beautiful umbel style flowering blossom. And this one's pretty darn dry, but you can see each tip was a little delicate flower. And you can see that from that flower being pollinated, look at all these seeds. Look at all these seeds. These are just dried up, ready to go. So you can collect these, save them to replant dill so you can have green dill, or I know definitely you can use these for cooking itself. Some recipes do call for dill seed. And so these have just, I've left, and look at this. They're just, look at all this dill growing down here. You see all this dill? This is just volunteer dill all coming back up because the seed just drops and regenerates. Let me just eat some of that. All right, so this is basil, and it's still very much in the flowering stage. You can see here the honeybees are still very much after it. But I'm just gonna check. And really what you do, like I've mentioned before, you kind of can just open this up. I'm just gonna see where it's at. Okay, so you can see where the seed would be, but it's still definitely too green. So these aren't dried enough yet, but that would be the same thing. Let's check out these. These are really dry. Oh, there you go. It's just a matter of dryness and maturity. Look at that. You can see all the black seeds right there. And they just, once the plant is dry enough, the flower, you can just break it up. And the seeds are right there. I'll show you marigold as well. Marigold, I personally love marigolds. I think they're fabulous. And you can really get a good look here of the different stages of growth. For example, you see where the petals are, where the flower is in which it gets pollinated. It's multiple seeds in this section here. This is where all the seeds are, and after it gets pollinated, you can see it kind of plumps up a little bit. So I just want to show you, this is early stages, and this is dried out later stages where these have fallen off. These have dried. And you can literally kind of pull off some of this fuzz, and you can open this right up. Look at all those seeds. Woo! Have a marigold farm, right? Look at that, how pretty. But look at all that was in that bud. So you can just begin to watch it as your plants transition into their phases of life. And here's just an example of beans. Beans you can let get brittle and dry right on the plant. And then, there you go. There's your beans. Here's some more. You see? Beans are great, but this is the dry consistency you're looking for, okay? They're really, literally brittle. Hear that? And then, yep, there is the seed. And I harvested a bunch of these already, so these I'm just gonna let go, but I wanna just show you. That's green beans. You want it to be really brittle like that, super dry. So this is an example where you actually are waiting for the fruit to develop and mature and get as big as possible so that the seeds themselves become mature and fully developed. So this is a cucumber vine. We've finished harvesting it. We've let a few of the fruits go where we're not going to pick them, so we're just going to let them grow and continue to grow. We've cut the water so that the energy can go into making the fruit. They're going to put all their energy into reproducing since it's not getting water or irrigated anymore. So here's an example. Here, look at this big cucumber. And usually I harvest them when they're maybe this wide in diameter and maybe a foot long, because I want the seeds to be very small, like very immature, underdeveloped. And you're probably going to see here that the seeds are pretty darn big. All right, see, look at that. So here you can just kind of scoop out. This is what you would do with tomatoes. This is what you would do with eggplant. This is what you would do with chili. This is what you would do with winter squash, with pumpkin. You let the plant mature. You leave some fruit still on the vine to grow to its fullest capacity. And then you literally would sacrifice the fruit. You're not going to eat it. I'm going to cut this up and eventually compost it. But you scoop out the seeds. You would scoop out the seeds, you would just rinse all this pulp and flesh out where you would get just the seeds themselves. And this is a great example. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but I've mentioned it earlier, that often the seeds will have this little gelatinous sac around it. And you don't want to, you want to rinse it off, but keep this intact and let it dry on the seed, okay? And then once it's dried, you can store it in an envelope. But this is going to be the same for, again, like I said, all of your plant seeds that they might have a little gelatinous piece around them. And you're gonna rinse, leave that on. You can leave it to dry on like a little paper towel in your kitchen or somewhere cool and shady. You don't want this in the direct sun. And then once it's fully dry, you can put them away for storage. So that's an example of that.